You can just put graphics up if you want. You'll follow along with that. I'll sort of point things out to you.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great day here in Goderich. This is a first-time event for the Air Cadet Squadron here in Goderich to experience two-way communication with Josh Cassada, who's an astronaut with NASA and is up in the International Space Station. They're scheduled to pass over Goderich in about 40 minutes, so we have a little presentation set up for this morning to go through our program with everyone that's here, to recognize our sponsors that have contributed toward this project over the last 2 or 3 years and made this possible. These kind of events are great. It's a great community event, and hopefully when this is all said and done, we'll have a bunch of young cadets and students here that have an interest in STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is sort of the goal of the AIRIS program and part of Air Cadets and amateur radio. So we have a very good group out here today, and we have not a whole lot of time when the space station is overhead. So we're organized and ready to go, but when we get to the point where the space station comes within contact, things are going to move quick. I've talked to the cadets about how this is going to be like speed dating with an astronaut. It's going to be boom, 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 boom. We have up to 21 cadets and students that'll be asking questions. Up on the space station, Josh has a copy of the questions, so if there's ever some static or interference that's there, he will already know the answers. Hopefully he knows the answers to the questions. Maybe the cadets have come up with a few stumpers for him, but hopefully he's able to answer those questions. And we may run out of time, but hopefully we won't. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all 21. I'd like to thank our production team for putting us together. We have Faux Pop, the Knights of Columbus here for allowing us to put the antenna up on the building. It's sort of a temporary setup, but it should work out perfect over here. And we also have a class of students from St. Mary's that have come to help us out on top of our sponsors and guests here today. So I'm going to turn things over to our squadron commanding officer, Captain Christine Lapp, to give some welcome on behalf of the Cadet Squadron.
Okay, so I welcome everyone. I thank you for joining us in this super special event. Thank you to Captain Ryan McClinchy for all of his organization in making this possible. So I wanted to start off by just explaining a little bit about what the cadet program is about. So Cadets is a Canada-wide program. It's for kids that are age 12. So you must be 12 to join. It's free. There's no cost to the cadet program. And we do lots of fun and cool things, right, guys? We do camping, field training exercises. We learn about aviation and aerospace. We meet friends. We teach kids how to instruct other kids, and we teach kids how to work together as a team. There are 3 aims of the program itself. So the program is to develop in youth good citizenship. So of course we want to help our own community with events like this and joining our Legion and Remembrance Day and all of those kind of fun things. We promote physical fitness. So we have our sports nights and we do things like that. And lastly, the 3rd aim is to stimulate an interest in the air element of the Canadian Forces. So there is a Sea Cadet program, and a Navy Cadet program that would stimulate an interest in those other elements, but here we focus on air and aviation. We provide the cadets with uniforms, so they have field training uniforms. which is our greens, and then we also have dress uniforms that we wear to parades and CO parades at the beginning of each month, that sort of thing. Kids and cadets work their way up through the ranks, so that's really fun for them as well, to earn promotions and then learn how to develop their leadership skills and do things like this, right, and public speaking. We also do a little bit of marksmanship. We have drill teams, and we get a chance in the spring and the fall to go up in gliders. So that's the cadet program in general, and then we have a group here that looks after our cadets specifically in Goderich, and we try to do all the fun things that are possible in our time span and with our commitments. We meet here in Goderich on Wednesday nights, and that's from around 6:45 until 9 at GDCI. So hopefully we can share this with people and promote our program at the school. So am I calling up Bill? There's a video?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're ready for the video.
This will be a test of our technology. While we're waiting for the video, if it does come up, I'll stop. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the ARIS program. ARIS stands for Amateur Radio on the International Space Station. October 2000 marked the beginning of amateur radio as part of the International Space Station. Operations began with the crew setting up the first ham radio system in the functional cargo block portion of the ISS. Several checkout passes were conducted during November 2000, and the first school contact was made by Expedition 1 astronaut Bill Shepard on December 21st, 2000.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim Peake and welcome aboard the International Space Station, where we're orbiting Earth 16 times every day. One of the most rewarding activities that some astronauts undertake on orbit is to talk to schools using the space station's ham radio. Now these are events that are planned by ARIS, which is a worldwide group of amateur radio volunteers who are dedicated to introducing young people and students to science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Now this is the equipment here in the Columbus laboratory, which consists of a handheld radio, a headset, and we also have a ham video unit. Now as the International Space Station orbits above your location, a radio link is established between the ISS and your school. Now, because we're traveling at nearly 18,000 miles per hour, which is an incredible 25 times the speed of sound, we usually get about 9 or 10 minutes of good radio contact before losing the signal. So about 5 minutes before the scheduled start time of the contact, I come into the Columbus laboratory and configure the radio so that I'm on the correct channel. And sometimes I'll set up the ham video too. Just before the predicted time, I'll begin to start calling the school using the standard amateur radio calling techniques. For example, if the call sign of your school was GB4 Fun, I would say Golf Bravo 4, Foxtrot Uniform November. This is Golf Bravo 1 Sierra Sierra, listening and standing by. Now at your school, the radio operator will be listening for my call, but may also transmit and try to call me as well. You'll probably have a much more powerful transmitter on the ground than we have up here on board, so I'm likely to hear you before you hear me. Then, once we can hear each other, then comes the best bit, which is actually talking to the students and answering the questions. Once I've answered all the questions, we use the remaining time to say goodbye to each other and end the connection. I'll then spend a few minutes configuring the radio back into a rebroadcast mode, and then I'll go back to my day job, which is of course doing science on board the International Space Station. ARIS is a brilliant opportunity for astronauts to talk to school pupils. It's really rewarding to hear how excited the students are when they're talking to somebody up here in space. And it's a true privilege to be able to inspire our next generation of scientists and engineers through amateur radio.
Am I good, Mark? All right. So that is just a brief introduction so everyone has an idea of what's going on up in space while we're down here on the ground. The radios, I think, were all upgraded this year. So the ones you see in the picture are a little older. But we've got everything upgraded. And we have all brand new gear here. So everything should be all set and ready to go. So the first contact was on Expedition 1. Now, just to keep that in mind, right now they're on Expedition 68. So this is the 68th crew that's on there. So Expedition 1 was in December of 2000, and they reached out to the Burbank School in Burbank, Illinois. Since that time, crew members have made numerous school, personal, and general contacts with people on every continent. The International Space Station has continued to grow in size and capability, and so have the amateur radio operations. Since spacewalks were performed to place antennas on the outside of the service module and additional equipment has been placed inside, this equipment has increased the options available for ham radio operators on the ISS and down here on Earth. Future plans call for even more capability and expanded modes of operation, and that's sort of what we're seeing kicking in this year. The current complement of amateur radios includes one Kenwood 710 on the Columbus module and another one in the service module. Current modes of operation include crossband repeater. So even when they're not talking to us, there's a repeater up on the space station that anyone can use, a handheld radio, mobile radio. Send your signal up, it'll repeat it back down, and you can talk to someone thousands of kilometers across North America. If it's situated within both of your range, both of you can talk to each other using the space station as a repeater. They also have packet and position reporting service, message delivery, voice, and slow scan television. Typically, just one mode is in use at a time because they only have a couple radios, so they just can figure out which equipment they want to use at the time. In Canada, the ARIS Canadian region is represented by 2 Canadian delegates, Chet Latowick, VE3CFK, and Glenn McDonnell, VE3XRA. And then the ARIS team, and who I've been working with throughout the last couple of years getting this set up, is Brian Jackson, V6JBJ, along with Wayne Harasimovich, Steve McFarlane, Lori McFarlane, Claude Lacoste, Steve Reagan, and Dennis Rule. So that's the whole team of Canadian amateur radios on the ground that are coordinating everything that we're doing with the space station today. So I'd like to give all those people a shout out and thank you for all your work volunteering in the background to make an event like this possible. I'll turn it back over to, actually, while I'm up here, Phil, would you mind saying a couple words on behalf of the RAC? Our squadron, to start our radio program, we were the recipient of the Youth Education Program grant, which gave us the seed money in 2000, and we used the 2020. We used this as an opportunity when COVID came as an optional training activity for the cadets to learn about the radio and eventually have this event. And it was the Youth Education Program money that got us the study materials and our initial equipment. I don't need to put you on the spot, but if you want to come up, that would be great. And I would like to thank the Radio Amateurs of Canada for that grant that we got to start us out. So thank you very much.
Afternoon. My name is Phil McBride. My call sign is Victor Alpha 3 Quebec Romeo. I'm the president of Radio Amateurs of Canada. RAC is the national organization that represents the interest of amateur radio in the country. As such, we're the international member of the International Amateur Radio Union. We're the voting member. Personally, I got my license when I was 14 years old. I started working on it when I was 13. So seeing everyone here this young getting into amateur radio is like a walk down memory lane for me, especially because amateur radio was probably one of the most positive parts of my growing up. It introduced me to people now who I've known, who I've been able to call friends for the past 20, 25, 30 years. So seeing young people on this path is great. You mentioned Glenn McDonnell from the AIRS program, who's actually the past president of RAC. I came in after him, and he's been very much looking forward to this today. I encourage anyone who wants, who would think about getting into amateur radio as a hobby after this to, go to the RAC website and take a look. RAC actually has a basic course starting in the winter, which you can take online. And for those of you who are of the age, RAC is sponsoring, we're hosting the Youth on the Air Region 2, which is the America's summer camp at Carleton University this coming July. So that's for people between the ages of 15 and 25. If you're a bit younger and you apply, we can have a conversation about that. But if there's interest there, that's happening, and you can get together with hams from other parts of the Americas, North and South, and play with some pretty cool gear. So, I look forward to the event. Thanks for having me.
That reminds me of when I first got interested in radio. I had looked into CB radio. My grandpa had a set in the car, and I looked into that. And you had to be 16 to technically operate a CB. So I looked around and found another program, ham radio. So I was able to get my license when I was about your age too. So thank you very much to the RAC for everything they've done for us today. Call Christine back up to recognize our sponsors today.
Not yet. Okay, so I first just wanted to recognize the Rotary Club here in Goderich, which was a founding sponsor of 532. And we have a speaker here from the Rotary, so I would like to welcome Rosemary Davis.
Yes, my name is Rosemary Davis, and I'm the current president of the Rotary Club of Goderich. I've been a Rotary member for the last 30 years, and I know that Rotary's involvement, of course, goes back much further than that because, yes, we were a founding member and or founding sponsor. And unfortunately, the two people who were most closely related to that sponsorship, Dave Smith and Mike Rogers, are long gone now, but I'm very pleased that the Rotary Club is continuing with this. We were very happy to be offered the opportunity to be a main sponsor for this event today, and I'm just very pleased to bring greetings from the Rotary Club.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. So the Rotary has always been a huge supporter of us, and we really do appreciate it. So thank you for taking the time today to join us. So I'm going to list the other sponsors. As some of you may have noticed on the back of our shirts, we have a whole host of sponsors. So I would love to recognize those people and groups. And if there's anyone in the room from those groups, if you could just maybe stand, and then we can recognize you. So we have the Town of Goderich as a sponsor. Thank you. We have the Kinsman Club. Gentlemen. We have the Legion. Next up we have the Signal Star. The Knights of Columbus. Blackburn, Radio Club, and then the RAC. And CTV, Scott Miller. And that is all for our sponsors. So thank you very much to all those people who took the time today to come join us. We welcome you for this very special event, and thank you for your sponsorship. So I would now like to call upon Michaela from the town of Goderich. Welcome, Michaela.
Hi, everybody. I was once a cadet too. I was actually in the Lucknow branch for a number of years, and I quite enjoyed my experience. And I got the opportunity to go to Penhold, Alberta, where I learned some more skills and was in the band camp there. So yes, I went to band camp, but it was great time. So I am pleased to see so many people. So what I do at the town of Goderich is health and safety and emergency preparedness. And what's really important in an emergency is that we can all communicate together, right? And what happens in an emergency is sometimes your internet goes out, or so you don't have Wi-Fi. Everybody's trying to get through on their cell phones, and they can't. It's overburdened. So we need an alternate way of communication. And you guys are using ham radios, which is one of those ways of alternate communication, which is wonderful. What the town has done is we have two-way radios. So they're emergency radios, and it's a two-way communication, and we have preset channels on our communication systems, and they're in everybody's offices. That's on the Emergency Operations Control Group. So I have one, the mayor has one, our chief administrator office has one, and then we have them placed throughout town too. So not just within town hall, we have them placed at Earth Power, at Veolia, the water, at the hospital. There's one in Clinton at the police station because they have their own system, right? And then we have them with fire as well. So that in the event of an emergency, we can get on our two ways and with the press of a button, make sure that we can contact anybody. And then they can, they're more durable than using your cell phone. They're heat resistant. They are water resistant, and as long as they're not damaged, they're going to continue to work long past other forms of communication. So that is my kind of little talk on communication and emergencies, okay? Thanks, Rod.
Okay, so I would now like to call upon Flight Sergeant Langlois to speak about the International Space Station.
The International Space Station is the largest modular space station currently in low Earth orbit. It is a multinational collaborative project involving 5 participating space agencies: NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA,